all, good evening. Welcome to episode 39 of the Tunnel Podcast, the greatest podcast in the world. Yes, we are back. It's been a quiet midweek, actually, no games. We thought it'd be inundated with transfer rumours and transfer signings, and we've picked apart the best of it. We're going to go at it tonight and look ahead to what is another great weekend in the Sky Bet Championship. Delighted as always to say I'm joined by Tom Goff. Tom, how are we doing, mate?
Yeah, I'm good, thanks, mate. Good. Yeah. I was just quickly putting my phone back down, just refreshing the WBA transfer rumours, mate. But
just keep it handy in case Cameron Chef sends you a little text during the pod. I know you and him are quite tight these days, yeah.
Yeah, that's it. It's all a bit quiet, mate. It's all a bit
quiet.
But like you said, I know we're going to get into it, but I do think it's the calm before the storm. I think it's all going to kick off in the next few days. So
we've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday, and then Monday. I dare say there'll be plenty of people trying to get players in lastminute.com, but we shall see. Listen, we're going to focus on a couple of talking points tonight. We'll start with a bit of housekeeping because Chris Wilder, and amongst it all, has been rewarded with a new contract till 2028. The new owners have shown a bit of faith there. They're giving him that contract nice and early. So, what's your kind of early thoughts on that?
Well, we've talked about Chris Wilder a few times, haven't we, on the pod? And I'm not so, I'm not too, so sure about him. I look, it's what I'm just trying to think how to word it. It's one of those where I can see the reasoning behind it from the new owners. I think probably look, they're having a good season at this moment in the championship. They're challenging for automatic promotion. He's doing a good job. They've had a lot of injuries, but they've still managed to keep in the mix. Obviously, had a few points deducted at the start of the season, not let that affect the squad. And also, I think they're probably thinking he is very, very popular figure, isn't he, amongst the Sheffield United fans? And for me, I think that must be the driving force behind them offering this deal, in my opinion, because I do feel like I think if they were to get promoted into the Premier League, I just think that he will get found out in the Premier League. And we've had this discussion a few times, haven't we? That in that we think that, look, he's proven in the past, and he's proven this season that he's a very good manager at this level. He knows what's needed to get teams out of the division. But I just think when you get into the Premier League, I just think that he's, I don't want to say outdated. I think that's maybe the wrong word, but for whatever reason, he struggles in the Premier League. He obviously really struggled when he came in last season with Sheffield United. He struggled to put any points on the board, really. So that's where I do find it a little bit surprising that they've given him such a long extension. Is that there's a very good chance they're going to get promoted this year, but yeah, from previous records, managing in that at that level, he's really struggled. But maybe their thinking is that maybe he hasn't been backed 100% in the past year. He hasn't had the backing maybe he needed to give it a really good go, and they're willing to do that. We obviously don't know what conversations have gone on behind the scenes. It looks like they are going to back Wilder with, the money that they've spent so far in this transfer window. So, yeah, it's just my opinion. Again, we obviously had Chad on the show a couple of times now, and we'll be keen to get him on again before the end of the season. So I'll be interested to see what his take is on it. But just my take, I just don't feel like Wilder is Premier League standard manager / head coach. That's just my opinion, and I just think even if he was to get some serious backing, if they get promoted and he was to get some serious backing, some good money to spend, I just feel like I feel very much like his strengths are kind of man management, and then when it comes to actual kind of coaching, training sessions, details, etc., which is the way football is very much moving. I think maybe he falls behind a little bit on that. But look, that's just my opinion. There's obviously Sheffield United fans out there who know a hell of a lot more than I do. But yeah, my take is I am a little bit surprised because I do feel that he will get found out again when if they were to get promoted to the Premier League.
Listen, you're quite right what you say, that the new owners certainly have backed him. Chowdhury's come in, I think Clark's come in as well, who we'll talk about later on when we start rounding up transfers. So the more likely if they do go up, they will go again. With Chris Wilder, look, just some comments from the post itself. That the owners said that they're delighted that Chris has signed a new contract with the Blades. Chris and his backroom staff have worked tirelessly to get the team in the best position possible, and it's been a pleasure working with Chris and his knowledgeable team during this exciting new chapter for Sheffield United. I think, as you say, he sort of embodies what Sheffield United are all about. We've spoken numerous times about managers and how sometimes it's just a good fit, and he certainly is that. We've seen him go to Watford, and Middlesbrough didn't work out for him. He gets a second bite of the cherry at Sheffield United, and they're sort of reincarnated again, under a good sort of championship campaign, or half campaign as it is now. And then he comes out with a line that I'm a Blade and this is the best job in the world. I could have wrote that for him without him even speaking. As you say, just talking on, he's not a manager that you can imagine he's obsessed with XG. Put it that way.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? So, as you say, it's more arm around their shoulder and go out there and kind of play and give them a bit more freedom in management and man management. Do you think there's an element of risk in this? Given how we've seen that we spoke about this numerous times as well. The promoted clubs, how big that gap is, and then if you go up, do you chuck a load of money at them in the summer, and then where are you going to be come early winter?
Yeah, that's it. Look, I think I think you're right. I think the main factor behind the decision is what you've just said. He kind of embodies Sheffield United. The vast majority of the fans love him. Hugely popular figure. Looks like he's got a good chance of getting them promoted again this season. And look, maybe I'm doing him a little disservice in that the Premier League and, like you said, the gap. You could probably look back at some of the teams that have managed to survive in the Premier League, and they've probably done it through scrapping and grafting and really just kind of back to basic tactics. Just get your defense organized and make yourself difficult to break down and just grind out results, sneak a win here and there. The teams that have kind of gone up through the Championship just playing really nice football. You look at the likes of Ipswich and Southampton this season, two teams last season that were very much possession based, attack minded football. They've tried to take that into the Premier League with them, and not change their philosophy, and look what's happened to them. Both teams are really struggling, especially Southampton. So keeping someone like Chris Wilder, it might work. He very pragmatic approach. Squeezes kind of, he gets his players kind of pumped up and, playing for the shirt and working hard. Those kind of, like I said, it sounds a bit odd, but those basic things, he gets them right, doesn't he? So, he could very well do that. He could, take them up and just kind of make them as difficult to beat as possible and grind out results and so on. I just think, I don't know. I just think, like I said, I just think that gap between the two divisions is getting bigger, and I just think with football and how football's being played now, and the top teams in the Premier League, I just think football's moving on a bit from the likes of Chris Wilder. I know that sounds really harsh, but
can I ask you, is it a positive or a negative? I'm just tossing and turning here as you're talking. The fact that he's had that experience in the Premier League with the same side, only a matter of seasons ago. Will Sheffield United fans be a bit more unforgiving if they see the same mistakes being repeated when they go up again under new management? And if he's back, they won't really have a kind of leg to stand on.
Well, I think this is probably, the thinking again by the board and the new owners is that someone like Wilder would probably get more time from the fan base if things aren't going too well for him in the Premier League and they go on a bad run, which they undoubtedly would, like every team that comes up from the Championship, they will go on a really bad run at some point and it will be difficult for him to get any points on the board. So, he's always going to have that in the bank, isn't he, with the fans? So again, look, it's like I said at the start, I can understand a lot of the reasoning behind it. I just genuinely think that in order for a team to come up from the Championship and stay in the Premier League and then establish themselves in the Premier League, I just feel like you need to at some point get a higher caliber of head coach to come in and take you to that next level. And I just don't think Chris Wilder will ever hit that. Like I just said to you, he could, I think he, every chance of getting them up, he'll make them difficult to beat, organise, make people, not like coming to Bramall Lane with the fans behind them. And I think taking that approach, undoubtedly would do better than the likes of Southampton have done this season, where they've still tried to play football, goal kicks from, goal kicks to the centre backs, in the 6-yard box and trying to play out from the back and stuff. I just think you would probably have a better. But then I just feel like for Sheffield United to reach that next level, I just can't see it under someone like Chris Wilder. And so then when you look at the fact that 2028 is the deal he's signed, that's still a good bit of time away, isn't it? Bit risky in my opinion, but like I said, that's just my take, mate.
Listen, they've got a big game to get back on track away at Derby at the weekend. We spoke about Derby midweek, so we'll see how that one gets on. Okay, let's move on. Frank Lampard. I feel like we haven't spoken about Frank for months, actually. We spoke about him when obviously got appointed. I think maybe we spoke about him a couple of weeks in and felt this might not last, but hey-ho. It's 4 wins on the spin if you include that win over Sheff Wednesday in the FA Cup, which looks like the Coventry admin on X are doing, so fair play to him. And everything seems quite chipper in Coventry at the minute.
Yeah, that's it, mate. Look, I was looking at his record since he came in, which was that first game against Cardiff at home, I believe. And since then, his record in the league is he's won 6, drew 3, and lost 3, which is pretty good going, isn't it? I think that's good going, considering Coventry. Considering Coventry were. They were struggling. They were obviously low on confidence. The loss of Mark Robins kind of really shook the club as a whole. The sacking, of Mark Robins really shook the club as a whole. I'll be honest. He's done better than I thought he would. I'll have to hold my hands up there because, like you said, when he was appointed, I was, of the opinion that this wasn't, it was more likely to fail than succeed. Should we put it that way? So, he's doing it. He's doing a good job. I think you can't say much more than that. I don't think you can't get too carried away because Coventry have got some good players. They really have. They've got some good players. They've got a good mix of youth and experience. They spent a lot of money, for a Championship club in the summer transfer window. So he had all the tools available to him when he came in through the door. But saying that, like I said, it was a difficult scenario for him because of the main Robins, the job he'd done at the club, how much he was loved by the fan base. A lot of them weren't keen on Lampard. All the issues with the owner and so on and so on. He definitely come in under, tricky circumstances. But, after a bit of a kind of indifferent start, shall we say, he looks like he's building a bit of momentum, doesn't he? Like you said, 3 wins on the bounce in the league. They've kind of shot up the table, which is...
Listen, as well, those 3 wins were against decent sides as well, like a Blackburn, Watford, they're decent sides. So I don't think it's, he's not been picking up wins against Plymouth or the likes. They've been, been badges of honour and as well. I want to ask you, I think it was, I'm not a masterstroke in his part, because obviously he's got no saying when he comes in, but the fact that he's come in and he hasn't been able to buy any players until January, he's been allowed to work with his squad. He knew what he's had to do, and all of a sudden the ideas are starting to sort of flourish.
Yeah, well, that's it. When a new manager comes through the door, it's how quickly can you get your tactics, your approach, your ideas across to the team on the training pitch, and then you start seeing results on match day. And it very much seems to be that, yeah, he came through the door. Like I said, they were quite indifferent. They were winning a game, but then losing a game and drawing a game. They were struggling for a bit of consistency. But then, look, what was that? That was probably, he came in towards the end of November, didn't he? So he's had 2 months now, pretty much, with the team. And like I said, they're a force, aren't they, in the division once again? Like you said, they've beaten some tough opposition of late. They're scoring goals. They're a real handful going forward. It's a tough one. Like I don't know. I don't know what's your take on it. Like, how good a job do you think he's doing? Because, like I said, I think, like I said, he inherited a really good squad, in my opinion. A squad that's probably a playoff chasing squad at the very least. Do you know what I mean? There was people tipping them to maybe compete for an automatic spot, considering the players they had and then the signings that they made. So it's, like I said, I don't want to kind of, but then at the same time, I think you definitely have to give him some credit. You definitely do, don't you?
Yeah, look, I'm sitting looking at now that the 6 points off the playoffs, which I think, at the end of November, if you told Coventry fans that they were going to be 6 points off the playoffs just coming into the end of the January window, maybe splashing £4 million in a midfielder, they'd be quite pleased with that. So I don't think he's doing too bad a job. And look, I'm looking at some of the images at the end of the Watford game, and I think the fans are starting to take to him now. Yeah, as you say, really, really hard coming in after Robbins, who had been there a long, long time. A real father figure for some of these supporters, probably some of these young fans had known. But Frank Lampard's coming in, and I think, me personally, it's nice to see him actually getting some positivity. He's had some bad jobs or bad luck, should we say, in past jobs, and this probably was his kind of last shot at something decent. So no, you say he's got his first signing through the door. Before we've come on, you've kind of said that it looks like a $4 million addition for the Swansea captain. Do you think that's good business? What do you make of Grimes, and how will he fit into this Coventry squad?
Yeah, I think it's. I think £4 million squad. £4 million squad. £4 million. £4 million squad. £4 million. I think they're paying a bit over the odds there, to be honest with you. I do rate Grimes. Like he's played for Swansea for a hell of a long time. And he's been one of the most consistent midfielders in the Championship for years now. One of the best at that kind of holding role, quarterback, picks the ball up off the defence, spreads the play, makes ridiculous amount of passes. He's been doing that for Swansea for years now, and at a really high level. So look, at this level, he is a good player, but I think he's about to turn 30, I believe. So $4 million plus is what's kind of being quoted by. I think they've paid over the odds a little bit, but look, like I said, he's a good addition for him. Again, I don't know what their injury situation is, because I know Ben Sheaf. I think maybe he's got an injury at the moment, because he's the captain and he plays central midfield, similar role to Grimes. Don't know if he's got an injury. I've got a feeling he might have an injury at the minute. But then there's the lad Torp, who's one of the players who really seems to have
his free kick at the weekend. Oh,
yeah, he really seems to have kind of come alive under Lampard. So yeah, I don't know. Is that to me? I guess what I'm trying to say is that I already think they have got some good players in the middle of the park. But look, again, I'm a firm believer that strengthening in any area breeds competition, doesn't it? And that then can squeeze extra out of players. So look, yeah, I think he's a good addition for him. Like I said, ridiculous amount of Championship experience. Been consistently good for Swansea for years now. So yeah, it's a bit of a message as well, I guess. I think to the other teams, in and around in that mix. Those teams who are kind of just outside that kind of playoff hunting pack. The teams that are
Sheffield
the
Wednesday,
Bristols,
Norwich,
Sheffield Wednesdays, the Bristols, the Norwich, those guys that look, we mean business. Like you said, we're splashing 4 million on Swansea's captain, one of the most consistent midfielders in the Championship. We mean business. We're going to give it a go. So good addition, and it just shows you that Coventry, they are. Yeah, they're a big team at this level. Like I said, you add that to the money that they spent in the summer, they should be doing better. So, but it looks like Lampard is definitely getting there. They are improving, and it looks once again that they're becoming a team that no one really fancies playing.
Listen, Luke Williams, probably won't fancy playing them at the weekend. It couldn't be set up any nicer come Saturday because the Coventry are away at Swansea. He was a bit prickly about the situation today when pressed by BBC, and also some stuff coming out that the Swansea squad themselves are quite disappointed about the timing that he's left. But I think if you listen to the Swansea manager, he said, look, he's been well paid, and that's maybe why he's took that move.
Look, if that's the case, because I haven't seen that, mate, I think that's a bit sour grapes, to be honest with you, because I think he's been at Swansea for 10 years, and I know full well that there's kind of when he was in his prime, 25, 26, 27, performing arguably better then than he was now. There probably would have been times where he could have left Swansea. I know that he's had numerous clubs interested in him in the past. Teams towards the top end of the Championship, and probably even teams towards the bottom of the Premier League. But he's stuck with them. Like I said, 10 years. I think he's played for them. So to come out and say stuff like that and hint that he's only gone there for the money. Well, no, because Swansea are probably the most inconsistent team in the Championship. They're on a run of 3 defeats at this moment in time. It looks like their trajectory is only taking them, down the table, whereas Coventry are on the rise, aren't they? They've definitely picked up under Lampard. They're the ones kind of trying to close the gap on those teams in the playoffs. I can understand him wanting to make the move, and if they're coming out and making a few shady comments about it, I just think it's a bit bitter. In all honesty, I think I don't think Swansea are ever going to be anything as they are at this moment in time in terms of how they're run and the players and the manager. I can't see them being anything more than a mid-table Championship club at best. I think Coventry have got a much better chance, with the money behind them, the players in the squad, of getting into those playoffs and potentially getting promoted. So I can understand why he's made the decision, to be honest with you.
Like, you look at Coventry's next couple of games, obviously we mentioned that Swansea game. They've got Leeds at home, QPR at home, and sandwiched them amongst that FA Cup tie against Ipswich as well. So, it's not going to get any easier. Frank Lampard, he's got to try and keep it up. This can't just be a kind of flash in the pan. Yeah,
that's it. It's but look, they're, like you said, the confidence is sky high at the moment, and they're probably thinking that they can. They're probably thinking that they can beat anyone and give anyone a game at this moment in time. So, like I said to you, I wouldn't want to be playing Coventry at the minute. Full of confidence, 3 wins on the bounce. They're doing well. Okay, let's move on to another side, maybe not doing so well, but looking to push on with some activity. This week is Luton Town. We spoke about Luton actually, I think, on Monday night, didn't we? Just the fact that they kind of dropped into the bottom 3. They seem to be making moves in the transfer market. You can bring us up to speed about who they've brought in, but it's all adding up. They've got irons in the fire for a striker as well, with a big price tag. Talk to us about the signings first, and then we'll then reflect on kind of the backing that the manager's been given. So in terms of the deals they've done so far in this window, they brought in Isaiah Jones, I think, not long after Edwards got the sack, which was for rumoured fee of around £5 million, add-ons, etc., but around the £5 million mark. And then in the last couple of days, they brought in the lad Asgard from Wigan, who I like a lot. He's a really hot prospect in League One, really good attacking midfielder, scores all sorts of goals, highly rated. I was a little bit annoyed that Albion weren't in the mix for someone of his type, but again, they've spent about £3.5 million supposedly on him. So, that's let's just say about £8 million they've spent on those two lads. They've brought in Kai Naismith from Bristol. That's a loan deal. However, they seem to be going all out for Kone from Wickham, who obviously Bloomfield knows obviously very well from his time as Wickham manager. And it looks like, he's number one transfer target. I think they've had a bid of around 6 million, 6.5 million rejected. From what I was reading today, they're still trying to negotiate a fee, maybe throw some add-ons in there. They haven't given up in their pursuit of him. So, it looks like that the Luton board are willing to give Bloomfield some serious money to try and get them out of the predicament that they currently find themselves in. But like I'm guessing you're going to allude to is, and like I said to you the other day when these Kone rumours were really starting to kind of hot up, was penny for Edwards' thoughts on all this, because where was this backing when Edwards was in charge, back in the summer? Well, where was this money? He could have really done with some of this money, couldn't he, to try and spearhead an immediate return to the Premier League. But I just find it a little bit baffling.
Yeah, listen, we've got a really keen viewer, I'm being told, Jeff Wilbett, desperate to come on and say hello. Well, Jeff, hello, welcome to the Tunnel Podcast. We're talking football, but delighted you're watching, no doubt. Look, we spoke about Luton. I'm probably repeating myself here, but for people that haven't heard, I'm quite convinced that they came down from the Premier League and felt that they had enough, that Rob Edwards didn't need to be chucked loads and loads of the parachute payment money or any of the money that they earned from being in the top flight. However, they did give him €4.5 million for the lad Fanny from AIK, who we spoke about before. He's been kind of non-existent. Then it was other kind of Eric Peters was on a short-term deal, Victor Moses, players of that kind of ilk. So I think, as you say, they have kind of they've showed Rob Edwards short, for want of a better phrase. That was really difficult to say. I had to get my teeth in there, my tuba grip. Whereas Bloomfield now is coming in, they've been sucked into that bottom three. The old Bummety Bum Bum's probably making buttons, so they've thought, right, we need to try and back this guy and give him a chance. He's a young upcoming manager. We don't want to really give him enough rope to kind of hang himself, as the phrase goes. So is it a case of, is it too little too late here? Are they scrambling? Because we're getting 3 days towards the end of the window. Wickham know Matt Bloomfield. Wickham know how desperate they want Richard Coney. This could end up at sort of 7, 8, 9 million quid for a League One striker.
Yeah, I think you're absolutely spot on. I think it's really embarrassing, really, in regard to Luton's owners and their board, that just how they've, their decision making so far throughout this season has just been a bit shambolic, hasn't it? Because you're right. I think Edwards was, he brought the one chap in for a decent bit of money, but then other than that, he was proper scratching around in the bargain bin to reinforce the squad. And then I agree with you 100%. I think they brought Bloomfield in. They thought to themselves, well, let's see, hopefully he can get a reaction from the squad, that kind of new manager buzz. And like I said, uplifting fortunes, it's, happens more often than not, doesn't it? It hasn't happened. He's come in, he's struggled straight away. And then I think that's it. They've gone, oh crap, we've got to do something now, because we could be going down into League One next season. Like you said, all this money that they've held on to for a brand new stadium. Well, yeah, nice one. Well, you might be your first run out in it. It might be in League One. So I think that's exactly what's happened. They've gone, oh crap, we've got to do something about this now. And then I think what's happened is it's very obvious from the players that they're going for that these are guys that Bloomfield knows from League One. So, which look, I'm not saying that's not a good thing. Like you said, he's obviously worked alongside Coney, so he knows the player, he knows what to get out of him. But then, like you just mentioned, Wickham, they know they're desperate. So they're in the driving seat here. For me, the player is probably, 6 million seems a little bit steep in my opinion, considering this is his first, real kind of season of promise and scoring goals. I'm not saying there isn't a player in there, but for me, 6 million seems a bit too much. But it seems like Wickham are saying, nah, keep going. And fair play to him. He's an asset. They're absolutely desperate for him. They've got every right to.
Two the other night.
Last
minute when I scored a penalty. Look, I love that attitude, by the way. You look at some of the stuff. I listened to the overlap this morning while I was walking away, and Gary Neville and Roy Keane sort of spitting feathers about how Marcus Rashford's attitude and how he's it should be in training. And then you've got this kid. I don't know if you've heard Coney's story. This kid was homeless at one point. It's wonderful, absolutely wonderful. So I hope the player himself's not denied this multi-million-pound move. I hope he does get it, but you just feel like it's all in Wickham's favour here.
Oh yeah, 100%, and but it's Wickham are going to be they're going to come out pretty with this because one, they're either going to have Coney. Look, I think the only risk for them is if they wait too late to do the deal, that they obviously can't spend a bit of that money and bring in a replacement, and then that affects their promotion push. So, they've got to, they will have to make a decision.
They're in the automatics, aren't they? 2 points behind Birmingham. 6 clear of Wrexham. So as you say, that is in the balance, really.
Yeah. So you've got to be careful how they play this. But ultimately, they either keep Kone and he continues his form and hopefully get some automatic promotion, or they end up with close to maybe 10 mil for him and a bit of time left to bring someone in, and then a fat load of money sat in the bank accounts. But I think the point I was trying to make was Kone, Asgard from Wigan, I feel very much like Bloomfield's the one now saying, well, I know this guy from League One, I played against him, I rate him. It all seems just very, like you said, all a bit desperate. There doesn't seem to be any kind of, scouting strategy here. I very much feel like he's come in, they've said, all right, we'll give you some money to spend. Who do you want? And he's gone, oh, I like him because he did well against me this season for Wigan. I want him because he was my star striker at Wigan. Do you know what I mean? It all just reeks of, panic stations. And that's the point I'm making, is I just think Luton have just been so poorly run this season that, like they probably, probably deserve to go down once again, the way that they've just
been neglectful, hasn't it? It's been really on the pitch, been really neglectful.
100%, mate. And I think the players as well, I think some of those players have most definitely got up into the Premier League and got a bit of an ego and thought to themselves, oh, we're Premier League now. They've come back down and almost had a bit of arrogance about them that, we're back in the Championship. And look how they're doing now. You cannot have that attitude whatsoever. It's always incredibly difficult, whoever you are, competing in the Championship. So, it's just been a shambles. And like I said to you, mate, I said it, didn't I? I said I felt there was a big risk as well in appointing Bloomfield. Again, I just feel like the Luton, their mindset was very much like, oh, Wickham are kind of, doing well in League One, competing with Birmingham and Wrexham, obviously the big spenders. Let's go for him. Again, I just feel like there wasn't much thought process behind it. And, they literally just kind of saw how well he was doing in League One and thought, oh, we'll make a move for him. It's been a shambles, like I said, right from the very start up until now.
Just talking about Asgard, because he's a player that obviously well. He kind of said, I've been at Wigan since I was very young, so I knew the next move for me had to feel like the right place, and I feel Luton is the right place to be. I'm the type of player who takes or likes to go about information and try to retain it I'm humble and I like to learn. He also said he likes to take the ball under pressure. He's not the most vocal in the dressing room, but he likes to do his talking by scoring goals as well.
Mate, I do rate him. I think he's a really good player. He could have. I know Luton in terms of where they should be. We were in agreement they should be doing better. They come down from the Premier League, etc., etc. But I feel he could have moved to someone in the Championship in a much better situation currently than Luton find themselves, because there's a chance next season that he's going to be playing in League One with Luton coming up against his old team Wigan. I had to have a little bit of a chuckle at some of those comments that there's a risk here, mate, with this move that you're going to be playing in League One again next season. I wouldn't the way he was talking it up, I just felt
it was a banker. He was a Championship player now.
Yeah, that's it. That was it almost. It was, I'm in the Championship now. I've made the step up. I'm here with Luton, who are, this Championship team. Well, there might not be, come the end of the season because of how crap a season they're having. So, I was a bit surprised with the move. Look, he seems a confident lad, so maybe he's thinking I can come in and I can play a big role in helping them get out the relegation zone and climb up the table. But like I said, I'm surprised he hasn't been snapped up. If it's around 3 million as well, because he's only young. I think he's 21, 22, something like that. I'm surprised someone doing a bit better further up the table hasn't come in for him, to be honest.
I don't know if you heard him speaking, by the way, Norwegian, but sounds very Scouse. Very Scouse. Yeah. At that point, because he's been over there.
Mate, have you seen his haircut as well? Dodgy haircut, mate. He's got cornrows. So it's like he's a Scandinavian with cornrows, mate. I think that just says everything that needs to be said, doesn't it?
Yeah, like hard, mate. Yeah, like hard. Listen, Cal Naismith, that seems quite a safe, sensible. Been at the club before, can play a number of positions, was well loved by the Hearters as well. So that seems quite safe and sensible, right?
Yeah, that's a good signing. I think they probably need a couple more of those signs. You've obviously got a bit of a risk with Asgard and Kone coming in that they're obviously League One players. Are they going to be able to make the step up to Championship football? I personally feel they both will, but you never know, do you? But with the signings of Naismith and Jones as well, to be fair, that you've got good, solid Championship players there who can perform at this level, do a job. So solid signing.
Okay, we're going to stay on the theme of signings because it is the January window and it is coming to an end, actually. We've got Friday, Saturday, Sunday and Monday. I'm sure Monday will be a busy night. We'll be on here Monday trying to wrap up what we can when we're on live, so that should be interesting. I'll dig out my yellow tie if I can find one. But Stuart Armstrong, he's been on everyone's lips this week. He looks like he's going to be rejoining Danny Rowe at Hillsborough. They worked together during this time in Southampton. He's obviously been over in the MLS, helped him out Vancouver, and now he's coming back. That seems a really good signing on a free, doesn't it?
Yeah, mate, I'm a bit of a Stuart Armstrong fanboy.
Wait, we need to out this because you have been since the Dundee United days,
mate. Yeah, because when it was from just when back in the day when you obviously big Rangers fan, that was probably the first time I dipped into SPL football, and
that Dundee United team was littered with them. Absolutely,
that was it. Yeah, I remember him and Mackay Stephen, wasn't he, the young the winger? Both of them obviously made the move to Celtic, but he's just like that. He's the kind of footballer I just like to enjoy watching. For me, he's obviously he's not on the same level, but the way he plays the game and stuff, he is like a Kevin De Bruyne kind of style player, isn't he? He can get forward, he can score goals, but he's got a bit about him. He can tackle. Just a bit of an all action midfielder. So I've always liked him. There's been a few times he's been linked with Albion over the years. He was linked with Albion in this window, but then like you said, I think I didn't realise that he'd worked with Roll in Southampton, and then as soon as I picked up on that, I thought, there's a good chance he's going to go to Wednesday. He obviously knows what Danny Roll's all about. I think Sheffield Wednesday are really lacking a player like him. They've got Barry Bannon in midfield, and they've got Charles in midfield, but those two are very much kind of deeper midfielders who kind of dictate play a bit deeper on the field, more maybe defence minded, whereas they kind of lack that midfielder who's got some real attacking intent, likes to push up the pitch and help the strikers out. So I think that could be a real gem signing for Sheffield Wednesday. That I'm a bit jealous of it, because I would have liked to have seen him to come to the Albion, and obviously what it's done is it's strengthened one of the teams we're competing with for those last couple of playoff spots. So great addition for Wednesday. That
you mentioned Barry Bannon there. He's surely going to be purring as well. The thought of linking up with a player like Stuart Armstrong who can link between midfield and attack. As you see, he's got a bit of an engine. Listen, you can see he's 32 all day long, but he's going to be plenty enough able to counter the Championship. We saw that
last season, mate.
Yeah.
That's it. Last season, he was fantastic for Southampton. Like you said, it was only 1 year ago, and he was doing incredibly well for them. So he's 32 now, but I don't think that makes much difference. He proved last season that he can cut it at this level and be a real threat. So I think that's could be one of the signings of the window, in regards to the Championship. That I think
I have to agree with that.
We've said that Sheffield Wednesday, they're just lacking, aren't they? 2 or 3 kind of real top signings to help them push on and really get into that kind of playoff mix and conversation. And I think they've got one of them in Armstrong. They just need to follow it up with a couple more, hopefully, before the window closes on Monday. Well, I say hopefully. I'm obviously not hoping that they do it.
I was going to feel you on that, but
the Wednesday fans will be hoping. So great deal for them.
Look, Harry Clark was meant to be bound on loan from Ipswich to Sheffield Wednesday, but much like every transfer story in the Championship this season, if Wednesday are after him, Sheffield United aren't far behind. He's ended up at Bramall Lane, probably driven by the fact that Sheffield United couldn't get John Joe Kenny over the line. They were haggling a bit with Hertha, and Hertha weren't willing to let him go at the price it was offered, so they moved their attentions to Clark, and that one got done pretty quickly.
Yeah, have they still got Gilchrist on loan from Chelsea, or has he gone back to Chelsea? Because that was the only question I was going to have, because Clark's a right back, isn't he? And I know Gilchrist has obviously been playing in the right back position for Sheffield United for the majority of this season. So I don't know what the situation is regarding him, but I think
it's a season-long loan. He's still there, apparently.
Yeah, so I think the only point I was going to make was, look, all right, Sheffield United are sitting in a prettier position in the league table, but I think he probably would have been guaranteed more game time if he'd gone to Sheffield Wednesday than he had Sheffield United. I think, like I said, Gilchrist has been playing in that right back position for the vast majority of the season for him and been doing a good job. So unless Wilder's thinking about moving things around, maybe switching Gilchrist into a centre-back role, because I know he can play centre-back as well. I don't know. Obviously, only time will tell. But again, I just feel that he would have probably been guaranteed more game time if he'd gone to Sheffield Wednesday, because they're like we've just pointed out, they're kind of 2 or 3 really good signings short to strengthen them to come into that starting 11. Whereas I feel Sheffield United are probably more looking to bolster their ranks because of injuries and stuff like that. Whereas Sheffield Wednesday are looking for a couple of guys to come straight into that starting 11 and improve them. And like I said, try and get in that playoff mix. So, but yeah, it's never nice, is it, when it's your bitter rivals it stings when it's whoever, but when it's your bitter rivals, it's just gives it that little extra salt in the wound, isn't it? So
100%. Cameron Archer, he was subject to a cheeky bid from Leeds to get him in on loan. Looks like Southampton are going to be saying no to that, and they're not keen on letting him go. Is that an area of the pitch you think Leeds do need to strengthen? Do you think that's where they're lacking a little bit?
It's like I said to you, because Cameron Archer is more of a forward, wide, attacking mid. Like I said, I think the area for me that Leeds is striker. I just think Pirro. I don't think it's like we said, the same situation with none of those teams at the top have got like a real clinical goal scorer. They've all put a few, they've all scored a few, but for a team sitting at the top, you'd be expecting, the star striker to be sat on kind of 15, 16 goals maybe at this time of the season, and none of them have got that. So I was thinking maybe that's what Leeds would be making a move for, would maybe be someone more prolific up front, or at least someone to come in and try and push Pirro on and try and get a bit more out of him. I think they've got plenty of talent behind the striking position. But look, Cameron Archer, he's a great player at championship level. So, is he good enough to come in and dislodge one of the guys who's been starting for him? You'd probably say he is. It'd be a bit of a coup, wouldn't it, for him? But I'm just surprised that they aren't maybe focusing elsewhere. I think they're attacking midfielders and their wingers. I think they've got some depth there. So a little bit surprised, but again, undoubtedly a good signing if they were able to make that happen.
Burnley as well, they're making moves. They're trying to sign Sonche Hansen, winger from the Dutch Eredivisie. They're trying to get him on loan with an obligation to buy, I think, for €3.5 million. NEC Nijmegen, I hope I've said that right, are reluctant to do the deal at the 3.5 million obligation to buy. Again, though, it's the teams chasing automatic, looking for forward players, firepower, effectively.
Yeah, but again, I say Burnley even more so than Leeds. That I'm just surprised that Burnley aren't trying to bring in a striker. I feel like they've got some good attacking midfielders. They've got some good wide players. I know they are struggling for goals, but I do feel like the main reason behind that is because you've got Zion Fleming playing as a striker. That's not his favoured position. He's just had to adapt and fill in there, and he's doing a half decent job. But again, he's probably on about 8 goals, something like that. I don't think he's on many more than that. If he is, like I said, for a team that's kind of up there competing for top 2 at this stage of the season, you'd be hoping for a lot more goals from your starting striker. So it's, again, I don't know, the guy, I absolutely have no idea who the lad is, so I can't comment in terms of his quality, etc. So, but look, I think at the end of the day, January is such a tough transfer window, isn't it? Because we've just been talking about the situation with Kone and Wickham and Luton, obviously desperate to bring him in. It's very much the selling clubs almost have even more power, don't they, in January, because teams are desperate to strengthen for that last final third of the season. So it's especially if it's a player of some quality, it's just going to add a few more millions on top, isn't it? And then
especially at this hour in the window as well, because then you're running out of time, so things can get a little bit difficult.
That's it. Then the selling club will then, like you said, demand more, because they're not really going to have enough time to make to replace the outgoing player. So then they compensate that with adding an extra kind of mil or two on top of the fee. So look, it is a difficult window, and we've said it all the way through the pods, this month, that it'll be interesting when it slams shut on Monday to see who's done what. I think at the moment, out of those the top 4, I think Sheffield United have done the best business by some distance, to be honest with you. I know their hand was forced a bit because of the injuries that they've had so far this season, but I think they've done the best business so far in this window. They're the ones who have strengthened well and are kind of leading the race. So, yeah, it's no surprise to see Leeds, Burnley and Sunderland, trying to make moves, trying to get a few deals done before it closes on Monday.
Okay. We're at the final stretch of the pod, last kind of 10 minutes, as we say, big packed fixture card at the weekend, kicking off in Lancashire on Friday night, Blackburn hosting Preston. Actually turning fortunes for both of these sides. I'm going to out you here. You were kind of labelling Blackburn perennial bottlers. I think when we spoke on Saturday, you said they get to this point.
Hey, it wasn't that harsh.
I'm paraphrasing slightly, but we've got to try and sell the pod here. So, yeah, perennial bottlers. They seem to get themselves at this seem to get themselves at this position, and then maybe it falls away. Preston, on the other hand, have been picking up points here and there. Some pretty decent results. Actually, Blackburn linked with a striker from Serie B tonight for 1.2 million euros as well. So they look to be, Eustace must be seeing that they are lacking maybe up top, and it's something he's identified as well.
Yeah, well, we both said it, didn't we? A bit back that John Eustace has done an unbelievable job at Blackburn so far this season. No one, even the vast majority of Blackburn fans, were expecting them to be in the position they found themselves in. But we were both quietly confident that if they wanted to maintain it, then they were going to have to make a few signings, not just kind of one or two. I felt like they were going to have to make a few signings this month to strengthen them and allow them to continue that playoff push. And yeah, they haven't done that business, have they? I'm not saying that's the only reason behind their dip in form. Like I said to you, and Blackburn fans will be the first to admit this, mate. There's been a few in the last kind of 3 or 4 seasons. There's been at least 1 or 2 occasions, maybe even more, where Blackburn have had a really promising kind of 2/3 of the season, find themselves in a good position, but then always around this kind of time of year, they just start to tail off. And like I said, a lot of Blackburn fans are of the kind of opinion here in that they just haven't got the squad to maintain those levels, and the play, a bit of kind of what's the word? A bit of tiredness starts to come into the players' legs because they're having to play week in, week out, 2 matches a week, and it just starts to take its toll, and you start to see them kind of starting to fall down the table. So yeah, that's understandably, they're worried that that's happening again here. And I am of the opinion that if they don't make a few signings before the end of the transfer window, that they will tail off a little bit further and further from those teams chasing for those playoff spots. Look, and again, I don't think that's kind of a dig or any sort of criticism at John Eustace. It's more to the owners and the board. Look, we obviously don't know the final financial situation of all these teams, do we? It's easy for us to sit here and say, why aren't the Blackburn board giving Eustace, money to continue this attempt at getting in the playoffs? We don't know what's going on behind the scenes. They might not have, they might not have a penny, to throw at him like so. But what I would say is if they have got, some, means of some financial support there to allow him to bring in a few, decent additions, then I'd ask the question, well, why aren't you? Because he's proven that they can compete, that they are good enough to have a bit of a playoff push. He just obviously needs a little bit more help. So, yeah, if they are able to do that, I can't understand the reason as to why they wouldn't, because this season's probably the best chance they've had in a very, very long time at, maybe sneaking a playoff spot. So, why not just kind of see what you can do and try and help Eustace? Look, like we said, Monday night is going to be the time. When it shuts on Monday night is going to be the time to judge these teams and the business they've done, because I do feel like Blackburn are probably one of those teams that are going to have to leave their business till late. Maybe a few decent loan signings, some players from the big teams once they've finally made their mind up. Are we going to keep hold of these, or are we going to let them go out on loan to the Championship? So look, we've got to wait until then, haven't we, to see what business they do. But yeah, I very much feel that they need to do a bit more business if they've got any hopes of kind of staying in this playoff mix and having a chance of sneaking a spot.
Got loads of games on Saturday as well, but I want to kind of jump to that Monday night game. Derby night in the North East, Middlesbrough hosting Sunderland. Michael Carrick and Richard Labrice will have to get the transfers in before lunchtime if they want to try and focus on the match. They don't want to be worried about players coming in while they're dealing with that side. Look, it's a massive, massive game. Not just in terms of geographically, but in terms of the push for the playoff, push for the automatics. This could be a cracker, and it's another instalment of ITV's Freeview package, which is great news.
No, they've picked another top game for that. Look, I'm just done with trying to predict Middlesbrough this season now, mate. I'm just absolutely fed up of trying to, make a call as to what they're going to do. Who knows what Middlesbrough are going to rock up on Monday night? What I would say is I was just looking before that it looks like Latte laughs off, isn't he? 22.5 million.
That includes the add-ons, £22.5 million. Oof.
Yeah, £22.5 million. So it seems like he's not going to be there
so
on
you
Monday.
Think then that Middlesbrough will be looking for a striker? They'll be looking to bring someone in.
I feel so. I don't know how long Conway's out for, but you'd feel though, with going out of the going to Atlanta, that they'd be looking to bring another head in. I know they've got Marcus Force, who he's a good striker at this level, but he's not. He hasn't got the amount of goals in him someone like Latte Laff has. They brought in Whittaker, but I think he's probably more of a wide player, attacking midfielder, isn't he? He's not your kind of out and out number 9. So I think they will. Maybe that's why they're trying to get the deal done now as soon as, so they can go and dip back into the market and spend some of that transfer money. But I just hope it's an entertaining match. There's some goals, because both teams, they can be very exciting teams, really enjoyable teams to watch. But we all know how inconsistent Middlesbrough are, and Sunderland as well, haven't they? They have been a little bit inconsistent of late, haven't they? They obviously drew with Plymouth last weekend at home, which probably would have been everyone's banker
on the coupon.
For Sunderland to get a win there, and Plymouth come away with a point. I bet you that killed off a fair few accumulators over the weekend. So I think you're right. I think that's probably, I'm just having a little look now, I think that's probably your fixture of the weekend, isn't it? It's a bit of a.
I mean, Coventry Swansea's got a bit of the backstory. It's got the narrative, but certainly in terms of how colossal that fixture is, just in any given season, that's a big tie. So we'll catch up on that on Monday night. Look, that's been almost an hour, so that is plenty for us. Thanks for Jeff O'Bett for desperate to come on the show, but I'm sorry, you don't just pull someone onto a live show you've never met or never spoken to before. I just had visions of this guy coming on in helicoptering us. Do you know what I mean? I was being banned from YouTube for the foreseeable. So, Jeff, you can come on if you prove yourself. I asked him who he supported, and he said, "I don't understand what you mean." So that was a kind of red flag. So, but listen, we'll take any viewer we can get at the moment. People are dipping in and out throughout, so that was nice to see as always. But if you're at a match this weekend, enjoy it. We'll be back, as I say, Monday night. Plenty of transfer roundup. We'll be talking about that game in the North East and everything else that's going on before it. See you then.